Growing up, my parents wanted me to have a Christian foundation, but they weren't really ones to practice Christian faith themselves at all. They never really discussed Christian faith when we were at home, or prayed or read Bible at home. It was something I ended up doing by myself. I'd read the Bible in my bed at night or pray. I mean, in some ways it's kind of strange, but it helps me to know that I've reached this point just more on my own choice rather than being obliged by my parents or being forced by my parents to make this decision. And I'd say wasn't strongly faithful. I mean, my prayer time and Bible reading time would be intermittent. Nothing that I would do sort of consistently, and again, very much more in private and never really discussed with others. Probably grew up a little bit naive in a way, because all the friends I had around me, even if they weren't Christian, they came from a very strong Christian background. But when I moved to Canada, tended to retreat more into myself, and I still had friends I met at university or at school that were of Christian faith and would invite me to odd church services and things like that. So I was never far removed from it. It was only really when I met my girlfriend and her family, and then later my future wife, we started going to church regularly with her and her family, and got back into going to church. Again, it was more as I'll go to church, would leave after church, and never really did much outside of that. A few years later, my wife and I moved to Dubai, and spent quite a few years there and engaged with the church there. And actually a former family friend of mine was in Dubai as well, and we actually started going to life groups, and it was the first time I actually really was more involved in church and actually would stay after services and engage with the community, which was really great. Really made some really good friends and connections there. But I would still say outside of that, it would be private, right? I think even within the marriage or talking, it was always more of my own private journey. Moved back to Canada after many years, and unfortunately, I'd say around 2 years ago, my marriage did break down and got separated. And I think as I've reflected on that, and I'll continue reflecting on many reasons why that happened. But one of those things, I know for myself is that it's been a very private journey, right, in terms of my faith, and haven't been one to step up and make that known and make that visible in the ways that I led my family and the way I led my marriage. And so that's something that I've thought about over time. Taking this step into a baptism and testimony that I'm making today, one is it's long overdue. The Lord's been, I think, with me in my path a long time and leading me in this direction for a long time with the connections I've made and the people I've been meeting along the way. The other one is just to be an expression of thanks, again, just because of the Lord's presence in my life, and especially over these last 2 years where they've been really trying for my family. Just seeing the church, what the Bridge Church has done, the community around, giving us support and love, and not just at the church, but at the school for my kids, and just a wider community of support. I've been going to the men's group for the last few years when I can, not as much lately, but just again the support through that and the growth that's come through that. So just an expression of thanks and recognizing that, hey, this is there in my life. And the other one as well is just for my sons. I've been blessed with 3 great boys, and rather being private about everything in my life, but actually stepping up and saying, hey, no, this is what I believe, and trying to make it more of a known thing in my life and in my family, and actually bringing it front and center. I've been fortunate enough and blessed enough that I haven't had to worry too much, right? Even when things have been difficult, even though I've been looking at it and sometimes thinking, oh man, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to survive? And, say a prayer and talk to the right people and have that community of faith around me that's helped take me through that. No, I think he definitely died and on the cross and for us, and take our sins on for us, and took my sins on. So I'd say it's something I've always struggled a bit with over many years and trying to understand that. But certainly as I've been learning more and reaching out there and trying to gain more in my faith over the last few years and feel more certainty in that respect there. I mean, I'm still somebody who's still learning and figuring things out. Definitely haven't got it all sorted out, that's for sure. Trying to learn to make God number one priority in my life. Definitely, it's still a learning journey and haven't gotten there always. Definitely stumble. I'd say just somebody who's more firm in my faith and really willing to speak about it and actually be less private about it, but actually making it a journey between myself, God, and my family, and along with others, right? And being part of a greater Christian community. So